It all began with a subsistence farmer in the North using guns to hunt game for survival. Animals provided protein and could feed many. Later, in 1619, the first shipment of slaves was brought to the New World. The Middle Passage proved to be a rough journey where only a third of the slaves survived. On these trips, the crew used guns to keep the slaves in line and in order. On land, they did the same, preventing slave rebellion and riots. The common use of guns in 17th century daily life led to the adoption of the Second Amendment. At the beginning of the American Revolution, the guns that were used by the American colonists and the British soldiers were mainly muskets and rifles. Muskets fired one shot every 15 seconds, and rifles fired one shot every 30 seconds. Even though rifles fired less quickly, they were much more accurate than muskets, though less common. Flint-locking pistols were also used, which were less reliable and only fired 2 to 3 rounds per minute. One of the biggest factors in the creation of the Second Amendment was the American Revolution. The colonists succeeded through the war only by the participation of farmers and other common men who defended their country with their own personal rifles and other guns. The ability to possess firearms proved to be the saving grace that a country without a military needed. The underdogs had prevailed and defeated the British, a dream long in the making. By the end of the war, the colonies began to draft their own constitution, finally free of British grasp. The drafting of the Constitution began with James Madison taking from many documents written over the course of history. Madison drafted 8 separate drafts that then progressed to the House, which created 4 more drafts. That finally went to the Senate. This final draft became the Second Amendment,
stating, "A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms, shall not be infringed." Basically stating that because we need a militia, the people must be able to keep and bear arms. The Second Amendment has become one of the most controversial subjects in the present day. The Supreme Court has rejected a major Second Amendment challenge to California's strict limits on carrying concealed guns in public. The justices, by a 7-2 vote, turned away an appeal from gun rights advocates who contended that most law-abiding gun owners in San Diego, Los Angeles, and the San Francisco Bay Area were being wrongly denied permits to carry a weapon when they leave home. The justices let stand a ruling from the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which held last year that the Second Amendment does not preserve or protect a right of a member of the general public to carry concealed firearms in public. Obviously, our world has changed significantly since 1789, when the Constitution and Bill of Rights were written. How could modernization affect our interpretations of the original text? Modernization has posed questions regarding the Second Amendment that include: who should be considered a part of the militia if we now have a standing army? What about women? Can the weapons be concealed? The technology of guns have changed. Should we only be able to carry 16th century weapons? Our police force has strengthened, and we don't survive off of subsistence farming. Why should we need to carry weapons? As technology increases and guns become more and more powerful, instances of gun violence and shootings have negatively affected the lives of millions of innocent people. Just this week, we witnessed the death of 50-plus people due to senseless gun violence. In 2017, there have been 275 days and 273 mass shootings. Many people feel that guns are posing huge problems in society rather than a symbol of pride and defense for the country they once represented. Guns now have developed into high-performance weapons with the ability to fire multiple times per second, rather than the inaccurate muskets that took minutes to load, aim, and fire. The Second Amendment may still be relevant today, but is the negative outweighing the positive when it comes to this amendment?